Hello and welcome to a fresh episode of Tech This Week, where we bring you up to speed with the most important weekly developments in the enterprise and emerging technology space in India. In today's episode, we discuss World Panic as its largest search engine faces an outage, the macro trend as cloud and enterprise deals rally in the week, a word on fintech in 2021 from the ongoing Razorpay FTX event, EdTech capital boom this year, and finally, SaaS startup domination on week's overall funding. I'm Supriya Roy, and joining us from the Tech Circle newsroom are my colleagues Shweta Sharma, who's back with us again, Devangana Ghosh, and Payal Ganguly. Hi, guys. Shweta, how does it feel to be back on your home turf at the podcast?
It feels great, obviously, and I thought I would be joining next week, but then it feels nice.
Yep. So to quickly, get everyone up to speed on what's been happening this week. This week started off with an outages development. See what I did there? Many of Google's services on Monday were hit by an outage that affected thousands all over the world for nearly an hour.
Yeah, Supriya, that's right. So at least the second time since the world went into a lockdown mode and also work from home. In August, there was a report of outage that affected Google Drive, Gmail, Meet, Admin Console, and also Google Chat.
Right. And thanks to Twitter memes that time and this time, we figured out in real time each time that there was a problem after all. Now imagine not being able to Google why Google is down.
With the whole week, a whole work from home play, it reminds me also of these US media reports from this week itself. Google is delaying employees' return to offices till September of 2021, but it expects employees to report to work in person for at least 3 days a week thereafter.
Yeah, imagine all of those fancy tech parks and crazy real estate space go to waste. But the news you're referring to, it cites this email from CEO Sundar Pichai to all Google employees on the same day of the outage. Now, work-life post-pandemic will be flexible, but I guess in-office collaborations is still a key component of big tech.
Yeah, but if you remember, other big tech corporates like Facebook and Twitter, last I checked, have not retracted from allowing employees to work remotely forever or even the next decade. The whole cross-border talent play is here exactly is amazing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, the Facebook and Twitter as well. Now I'm going to forcefully drive the conversation link from cross-border and virtuality to all that's happening in our enterprise and cloud side of coverage. This week was a buzz with announcements from technology service companies despite Christmas and New Year looming within days.
True, the quarter doesn't usually compare to the previous 2 quarters in terms of financial performance. Everybody is getting into Christmas mood, and still both Mindtree and Happiest Minds have made announcements about key partnerships to accelerate their strategy. Happiest Minds will partner with RPO solutions company Innate to offer automation solutions to enterprise clients.
Wait, Shweta. What is RPO? I have heard of RPA, but I haven't heard of RPO.
So it's robotic process orchestration, which is same as RPA, which is robotics process automation, where they all tie into the wave to automation process. Innate's workforce management platform helps streamline operations between employees and technologies like RPA bots and optical character recognition platforms. Meanwhile, Mindtree announced a partnership with Microsoft. It now has a go-to-market business unit to build solutions on Microsoft platforms and technologies. Mindtree's team will bring to bear their skills in Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Power Platform, and Azure.
But were there any significant deals?
Well, yes, Devangana. Infosys announced one with Texan municipal utility El Paso Water. But Infosys CEO and Managing Director Salil Parekh also caught up with journalists over a virtual call this week. And he says that the deals pipeline looks healthy as more and more enterprises seek to renew their contracts.
And there were more affirmation for India. There was more affirmation from India, which is home to 1,400 R&D captive offshore centers. Fiat Chrysler Automobiles became the latest MNC to set up an R&D center in the country. It chose Hyderabad for its $150 million technology hub.
The automobile giant wants to employ 1,100 techies with an aim to digitalize its operations globally and build its capabilities in customer safety, connected mobility, and digital showroom experience. And finally, there was some action in SaaS too, as Salesforce launched Hyperforce, its architecture to deliver Salesforce Customer 360, including the Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Commerce Cloud, and other solutions to work seamlessly with major public service cloud providers.
Well, moving to payments from here, it continues to be a conference-heavy week with the final leg of AWS reInvent, Facebook Fuel for India, and Razorpay's flagship event.
Yeah, some interesting announcements there too. Looks like the latest entrant into the UPI third-party app player, WhatsApp, formally announced that it was working with processing banks such as SBI, HDFC, ICICI, and Axis, apart from, of course, Jio Payments Bank for the transactions.
But wasn't this public earlier?
Well, it was Debangana. In fact, when WhatsApp kind of announced that it had gotten NPCI clearance. However, I think they were trying to reiterate this because the event was a good platform to showcase the arrival of WhatsApp Pay as a product.
Yeah, the Facebook Fuel event, as well as the press release that they sent later. Looks like a glut of events around payments and fintech.
True. There was another announcement which was made by NPCI. The retail payments regulator said that it will enable contactless payments on RuPay cards across all retail transactions. It also said that it will enable offline contactless wallet-based payments on the same cards for paying for transportation, parking, toll, etc. So this will also include the monthly pass for metros and trains, as well as seasonal tickets for various options.
So effectively, this is the One Nation, One Card for Mobility, which was launched last year by the PM.
Yeah, right, Debangana. It's the same. Also, interestingly, Reserve Bank of India earlier this year had instructed banks to not issue contactless debit and credit cards by default to users. So the banking regulator had said that users will have to enable contactless and international payments on their cards if they want. So this is, in a way, protecting consumer interest, but it also helps the current product which RuPay has come out with will help it corner a very high frequency use case for contactless payments through One Nation, One Mobility Card initiative. Also, Debangana, weren't you attending the Razorpay event? What went down there, and what is the news from the latest FinTech Unicorn?
Right. So Razorpay's annual event is going on. Today is the first day of FTX 2020. So basically, these are the annual events where the company discusses its annual and new launches in the pipeline. So some of the features and products launched today includes its vernacular checkout and end-to-end payments platform. The feature is already live in Hindi and will be available in another 6 languages. They have also launched solutions to help e-commerce players and their customers to solve the problem of return to origin. So basically, when we get the products and then we send it back to the seller. So Razorpay has come up with this Razorpay Trusted Badge, which will be helping customers trust the online modes of payments, reducing cart abandonment, which is mostly 30% more during the checkout, as most people are still averse to paying online. Now, understanding that the company has had a great year despite a slow start, thanks to the wide adoption of e-payment and contactless payment mechanism, Harshil Mathur spoke to us about the future of fintech in India. To begin with, I would like to know what is your view on the future of fintech and how do you see it shaping up in the next 3 years?
What I believe is, I think there's been a lot of innovation, of course, that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the entire India's GDP, right, hardly 3% of that moves through digital channels, right? So there's a lot of scope to change in fintech, right? I think whatever we have done so far has been innovation on payments, and that too also on consumer to merchant payments. This is the only place that has had a lot of innovation in the last couple of years, and I think if not, like, we are not completely done, but I think if I were to rate it India against the world, I think we have the best payment system in the world today with the UPI cards and everything else. But that's just consumer to merchant payments. There's so many other kind of money flows that have yet to go digital, right? So, and this is something that we have been working on, for example, on business to business payments, business to employee payments, lending, when payments. I think a lot of domains are still untouched, and I think there's a lot of innovation yet possible.
How is the mix, I mean, in terms of revenue share for Razorpay changed? So, I mean, what were the key industries who were your clients pre-COVID, and has the mix sort of changed or evolved post-COVID?
Definitely. So I think pre-COVID, about 35 to 40% of our volume used to come from travel and lending. Travel used to be the largest segment, around 25%. Because like travel has generally been very high ticket size. So in terms of dollar moved, it's generally high because average ticket size is like 2,000, 3,000 rupees, while in e-commerce and everything it's lower. When COVID hit, of course, it went down to zero. Right, so that's why our volume dipped by 30% because all of that went down to zero. Segments that have grown in this time are e-commerce, EdTech, and others, which are very well known. Today, our largest segment is e-commerce. It used to be the third largest segment pre-COVID. The second largest segment today for us is EdTech. The third largest segment, which is a very big surprise for us as well, is gaming. I think the mix has changed significantly. Like it used to be travel, lending, e-commerce. Now, if I talk about top three, it is e-commerce right at the top, EdTech followed by gaming.
So, any interesting use cases in these particular segments that you just mentioned?
So, for example, now Dream11 has a very different use case. Right? They just don't accept money; they also have to disperse money. Right? Like you spend money to buy into the fantasy sport, and then if you win, if your team wins, then you get money back. Right now, so as Razorpay today, we just don't accept money. We also do dispersals for Dream11, MPL, a lot of these gaming sites. We work with a lot of them where we don't just accept money. We also built a platform to do dispersals. That is our second largest product right now already. It's contributing almost 15% to our organizational revenue. We wanted to make that process very simple. So what we launched is called Razorpay Payout Links. Payout. The way it works is that if I have to send money to you, I just need to know your phone number. I enter your phone number in Razorpay, press a button that I have to send you 100 rupees, and that's it. You get a link with that Harshil is trying to send you 100 rupees. You press that button, fill the details, and get money instantly. So there's no to and fro of mail exchanges required, WhatsApp exchanges required to exchange account numbers and other details and copy paste and put them into bank account and all of those things. You just enter it on Razorpay up to the phone number and send the money out. I think that became a very interesting use case for us because a lot of companies, for example, we work with Furlenco, which collects security deposits, right? Like it's a furniture rental platform. So when you want to return your furniture, they send you a link to return the security deposit. You press it, enter details, get the money instantly. So you don't have to do to and fro with Furlenco that, hey, this is my bank account details, please send me money. So I think those are some of the interesting use cases we built during COVID.
Thanks, Harshil. Now, 2020 will go down in history as the year of the global pandemic, as well as the boom of EdTech. This year, India has recorded a whopping $2.2 billion in funding across 92 EdTech startups, of which 61 were seed stage.
The obvious winner leading the pack is Byju's, which raised $2.32 billion in the past 5 years, followed by Unacademy, having raised $354 million. Next on the list were Vedantu at $206 million, Topper at $107 million, and Lead School at $39.4 million. The numbers were reported in a study titled The Great Unlockdown, Indian EdTech.
Before we wrap up, we would not do justice to this week's crazy deluge of news if we weren't to acknowledge all the hype around funding and IPOs in the business of software making. Right from 3-digit multi-million-dollar fundraisers to automation companies and cryptocurrency exchanges planning to publicly list, it's been a wild, wild week. I'm referring to companies such as Coinbase, UiPath, Zenoti, and Lead Squared. All massive developments. In terms of a parting thought, do you guys have anything to plug in here with all that's happening and that's about to happen in the spaces we cover? What I'm getting at here is that the appetite of technology service providers, I'm sure all of you will agree, has changed over and above the 90s, the early 2000s, and that's only 2020's doing.
Well, hold the thought, Supriya. I just wanted to give some highlights into what went down this week. We heard from UiPath today announcing its plans to go IPO. It has filed a confidential registration document with the SEC in the US. Meanwhile, homegrown cloud-based software solution provider for salon and spa chains, Zenoti, on Tuesday said it had closed a $160 million growth funding round. Also, sales automation platform Lead Squared faced a which faced an initial issue of not being able to show enough dollar revenues to garner investor interest, this week closed a $32 million round.
And with that, it's a wrap on this episode of Tech This Week. For more news and updates, log in to techcircle.in. Be good, stay safe. Goodbye.